Bryan Gaiser is an investment advisor representative of Advisory Alpha LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed by Bryan Gaiser are solely his own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Advisory Alpha. This recording is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. Investment advisory and financial planning services offered through Advisory Alpha LLC, a registered investment advisor. Insurance, coaching, and educational services offered through Gaiser Financial Group. Gaiser Financial Group is a separate and unaffiliated entity of Advisory Alpha LLC. While tax and legal services may be discussed in the general course of financial and investment planning, Advisory Alpha does not provide tax or legal services. Please consult with your tax or legal professional prior to making decisions related to these issues. This material is not endorsed or approved by the Social Security Office or any other government agency. An annuity is a long-term financial product designed largely for asset accumulation and retirement needs. All guarantees are backed by the claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. All opinions expressed by externally cited sources are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Advisory Alpha. This is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. The case studies presented reflects the specific circumstances of one client and should not be considered a guarantee that another client or potential client may experience the same or certain level of results. This is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as investment recommendations or solicitation. Names have been changed to protect the anonymity of clients and are not testimonials in nature. Learn, grow, and take charge of your retirement. This is the Wealth Through Wisdom podcast with financial advisor Bryan Gaiser, founder of Gaiser Financial Group.
We've talked about it on this radio program before, Bryan. For those who are looking to move money out of a previous employer's 401k to your own IRA, the good news, Vanguard is saying that plenty of us are doing that, which is good for a lot of people because it usually means you're going to get more options and there could be lots of other benefits to having your own IRA. Of course, as with everything, there are pros and cons. You have to weigh those out. But when folks do this, it turns out very often they just let the money sit. And again, it's Vanguard reporting that 28% of those who roll over end up staying in cash for at least 7 years. And when you ask if they want to invest that money, they're presented with not just 10 choices like they have been used to in many 401k programs, but now they're in their own IRA. So they have lots more options and could be faced with thousands of choices. Talk about analysis paralysis. It might feel like for some that they're going from one risk bucket to another, while cash can feel comfortable for many people. We, of course, have talked about the effects of inflation, especially over the last several years, and there are risks to being in cash as well. So for somebody who is risk averse, what options might they have that maybe they haven't even thought of or even know exist?
Well, there's people out there that are highly risk adverse. I mean, I've got some pretty strong clients that are really, really strongly risk averse.
Sure,
we're talking like 20% in the market, 80% out of the market, and their 20% they could live on, to give you an idea. So they have a lot of funds out there that could be working harder for them, but they don't get the time in the market as well as others. They don't need to because they're going to be just fine. They're doing extremely well. But some of the things people can look into is, one, look into fixed annuities. Fixed annuities are, usually zero cost. If you're looking at anywhere from about a 2 to 10 year range of a fixed account that says, hey, we're going to pay you 5.75, we're going to pay you 5.5, we're going to pay you 6, depending on the company you're dealing with, that comes to you with very little to no strings attached. In other words, hey, I'm putting $1 million in here and I get 5.5. I know I'm going to get $55,000 a year. Then it's going to compound over those 5 years. And at the end, all that money is mine. Along the way, if I need 10% of it, I can grab it. That's one of the most common safe routes, mainly because you can also defer the interest, which helps you with your taxes. Sometimes you decide when you get taxed. Another area that we can go to is preferred stock. Preferred stock's kind of like you're owning part of the company, but also you get this nice fixed dividend coming in, and dividends can't be lowered for the most part when it comes to preferred stock, right? They can buy back the preferred stock and then lower it, but they can't lower it on you. But net preferred stocks are your more solid, strong companies out there, right? Ones that are have dealt with the test of time very well. That's one area. I've got a client that just recently, he's like, man, I want to retire in 6 years. He'll be 67, right? He's 61. He's going to have a pension at 67. Okay. He's going to have his Social Security at 67 if he chooses to go ahead and take it. But he also says, I want my pension and Social Security to more than cover my bills. And then when my wife retires a year or two later, her Social Security is going to be our play money.
Okay.
And so what we did is we did something, you know how we're talking about moving that money from the 401k. He moved that money from big portion of that money, a portion, I should say. He still has a lot left in there, and we're moving it to more of a growth portfolio. He's allowed to continue to contribute to his 401k that we just emptied out and put into 2 IRAs. One of the IRAs is going to be like his own personal pension to enhance that pension. That pension going to put him somewhere between his Social Security and his pension, and this, it will not put him somewhere in the neighborhood of about $80,000 to $90,000 a year. So he'll have $80,000 to $90,000. That more than covers the bills because everything today is already paid for. Then when his wife retires at 65, they're going to tack on another Social Security. It's going to be pretty strong in the neighborhood of about $34,000 a year. That'll be their play money. So well, she'll still be working, and that's their play money. But now they'll have they'll have a known number coming in on a regular basis that more than pays all their bills and takes care of all their fun time, leaving about 70% of their savings for growth, safe growth, as well as a little more risk because they want it to grow stronger. Folks, it's understanding what your options are, but if you don't know what your options are, that's really where the problem rolls in. 336-586-5861 is the number. Once again, 336-586-5861. Let's sit down and let's brainstorm on your situation to determine, does something like this fit you? Does it make sense? Do you even know what an in-service transfer is? That's asking your company to go ahead and release some of those funds from that 401k, roll them into an IRA. There's not a taxable situation there. You can roll it into an IRA. Then you'll have a whole lot more choices like the gentleman I just talked about and be able to plan better for retirement. So once again, give us a call. It's no cost, no obligation. 336-586-5861. Give us a call. Happy to sit down with you. I'm here in Greensboro, like she said, right off Friendly Avenue near Guilford College. Love to sit down with you, run some numbers by you, and show a better way and a better path for you.
Obviously, Bryan, that's your goal for every person you meet, every plan you create. That's the goal for all of us, finding better ways, finding out what our options are. Again, pointing out what options you might have that you don't even know about. It's not even about, have you even thought of this? For a lot of people, it's, do you even know that these things exist? You just mentioned preferred stocks, Bryan. That's not something that I'd personally heard of before. And I get to do this radio show with you every week. So for you, the smart, hardworking people of the Piedmont Triad, as we do every week, we've opened up 5 spots on Bryan's calendar just for radio listeners today. So give us a call if you want to reserve one of these spots for yourself. 336-586-5861. This initial review process, no fee, no obligation to go through your savings, and Bryan can show you what options you might have. 336-586-5861. Or you can also find us at gaiserfinancial.com. Bryan, there are some other options here on this list that I know you wanted to point out. Let's talk about what those are.
Municipal bonds is another idea. I mean, could be state tax-free, state and federal tax-free. If you buy them in your own state, they normally are federal and state tax-free. That's a big plus. Municipal bonds is just what it's saying. You're buying a bond that maybe it's for building schools or whatever it may be. And they're normally a lot safer. And also you have a tax-free element to it. Corporate bonds, suitable for investors seeking steadier but potentially higher returns. But it's you want to have a better understanding inside of this. You can buy ETFs that are purely exchange traded funds, which are similar to mutual funds, which are a whole lot better cost effectiveness.
Okay.
But anyways, a corporate bond, you're able to buy an ETF that does nothing but buy corporate bonds. Let them do the homework. Consumer staples is another one. This is really important. A lot of these things we build our portfolios out of as well. But compromised essential products such as like food, you're going to always want food. That's a consumer staple. Beverages, household goods, all of these things are always being purchased regardless if it's a good economy or a bad economy. You got to eat, right? You got to clean your house, those kinds of things. And you can get really good deals. And ETFs, once again, that specialize in consumer staples are nice.
So consumer staples, is that, I think back to when I was a little kid, my dad liked to teach me about investing. And he would say to me, Heather, you need to think about companies like Johnson & Johnson because people are always going to need Band-Aids. And of course, we're not saying go buy Johnson & Johnson or invest, but is that the idea, is to look at companies that provide things like that?
I mean, Walmart look, Walmart just deals in consumer staples. You buy Walmart, you bought all that. But buying in Johnson & Johnson, different drug makers, things of that nature, that create, like you say, such things as Band-Aids, P&G, right? Procter and Gamble, things along that line. Once again, we're not telling you to buy these things, but these folks, they make things that you're going to use, whether it's a bad economy, good economy, what have you, right? So things along that line, it really helps out, and it helps balance your portfolio as well. Okay. But in utilities, do you use power at your house? Right. I use power, and the bottom line is when it comes to utilities, companies, a lot of times they have really strong dividends. And to me, I'm a big fan of dividend investing because the dividends are always buying back in my case. I like to have them buy back in. Sometimes you can use the dividends as income. All depends on what your structure is. But those dividends, see, when you retire, Heather, a thing to think about and what folks are listening ought to think about is when you retire, you can't contribute to your IRA, right? Because you're not working, but your dividends can. So you're just perpetually adding to that stock. Folks, it's just understanding all the rules of the financial world is tough. Our company is built on strategy, creating a strategy for the individual. 336-586-5861. Once again, 336-586-5861. Give us a call. Happy to sit down with you. It won't cost you any money, but it will cost you something. It will cost you your time, and I promise not to waste it. Once again, 336-586-5861. Give us a call. Come in, sit down. Let's look at some things that you probably haven't even thought of and maximize your retirement.
Thanks for listening to the Wealth Through Wisdom podcast. To learn more, visit geiserfinancial.com. Bryan Gaiser is an investment advisor representative of Advisory Alpha LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. All opinions expressed by Bryan Gaiser are solely his own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Advisory Alpha. This recording is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. Investment advisory and financial planning services offered through Advisory Alpha LLC, a registered investment advisor. Insurance, coaching, and educational services offered through Gaiser Financial Group. Gaiser Financial Group is a separate and unaffiliated entity of Advisory Alpha LLC. While tax and legal services may be discussed in the general course of financial and investment planning, Advisory Alpha does not provide tax or legal services. Please consult with your tax or legal professional prior to making decisions related to these issues. This material is not endorsed or approved by the Social Security Office or any other government agency. An annuity is a long-term financial product designed largely for asset accumulation and retirement needs. All guarantees are backed by the claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. All opinions expressed by externally cited sources are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Advisory Alpha. This is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. The case studies presented reflects the specific circumstances of one client and should not be considered a guarantee that another client or potential client may experience the same or certain level of results. This is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as investment recommendations or solicitation. Names have been changed to protect the anonymity of clients and are not testimonials in nature.